how it smells over here. Oh, he's
Like
so thirsty.
Like metal.
No, it smells like fruity.
Who lied?
What do you mean, who lied to me?
It smells like metal here to me.
Mayflower. I'm gonna be on that.
You could probably get a better angle over there.
Yeah. Wait, can you go? The Plymouth Rock is located in Plymouth Memorial Park on the shore of Plymouth Harbor, with the date 1620 engraved into its stone. The boulder is a symbol of the first permanent British settlement in New England. Although there is no confirmed historical evidence that the rock was the Pilgrims' actual stepping stone to America, it was identified as such in 1721, 121 years after the Mayflower's arrival.
Thomas Fonts, a 94-year-old church elder, said his father, who arrived in 1623 along with several of the original Mayflower passengers, assured him that the boulder was, in fact, the exact landing spot. When the elderly Fonts heard that a landing was to be built over the spot, he gave the rock one last tearful goodbye. Whether Fonts' tale was accurate or not may never be known. What is known is that it became an iconic monument in Plymouth, which is viewed by more than 1 million people a year.
Mayflower 2 is a full-scale reproduction of the Mayflower that arrived in 1620. Built on June 13, 957, but it tells a larger story than just of a boat. In September 1620, the Mayflower, a merchant ship, set sail from a port in Plymouth, England. The Mayflower's cargo usually contained wine and dry goods, but on this trip, the ship carried 102 passengers, all hoping to start a new life on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Almost 40 of those passengers were Protestant separatists who hoped to establish a new church in the New World.
Modernly, we refer to the colonists as pilgrims. The separatists did not want to pledge allegiance to the Church of England, which they believed wasn't as corrupt and idolatrous as the Catholic Church it replaced. Although they had disagreements with the English Church, they were not Puritans who wanted to reform it from within. They moved to Holland and found religious freedom there, but also found a secular life that was more challenging to navigate.
Dutch craft guilds excluded immigrants, relegating them to low-paying jobs. Holland's easygoing culture was seen as alarmingly attractive to the separatist children, so they decided to move again, this time to a new world. They arrived in London and secured a prominent merchant's advance for their journey. Then the Virginia Company granted them permission to establish a settlement on the east coast between 38 and 41 degrees north latitude, or between Chesapeake Bay and the Hudson River. The King of England granted them permission to leave the Church of England, provided they behaved peacefully.
They set sail from Southampton, England on 2 merchant ships, the Mayflower and the Speedwell. The Speedwell began to leak and headed to the port of Plymouth. The travelers decided to squeeze themselves and their belongings onto the Mayflower and set sail again under the leadership of Captain Christopher Jones. Because of the delay, the passengers had to cross the Atlantic at the height of storm season. As a result, the 66-day trip was extremely unpleasant. Many passengers were seasick, and the waves were so rough that one person was swept overboard.
Once they arrived, the colonists found an abandoned native village and realized they were in the wrong place and technically had no right to be there at all. In order to legitimize themselves as a colony, 41 passengers signed the Mayflower Compact, which promised to create a civil body politic, governed by elected officials and their own just and equal laws. It also swore allegiance to the King of England. The Mayflower Compact was the first document to establish self-government in the English Americas, and an early attempt at democracy that inspired future colonists to seek independence from Britain.
Only 53 passengers and half the crew survived the first winter, as they were confined to a ship where disease, malnutrition, and cold were rampant. Without the help of native people, it's likely that none of the settlers would have survived. An English-speaking Abenaki named Samoset helped colonists form an allegiance with the Wampanoag people, who taught them how to hunt, grow native vegetables, and collect shellfish. At the end of the next summer, they had a feast to celebrate the bountiful harvest, but it was a one-time event. Bloodshed and ongoing land disputes between the colonists and natives continued. Thanksgiving, as a holiday today, is not a day of peace, but for many indigenous people, a day of mourning. And we saw the Mayflower tubes and the Plymouth Rock, and that was really interesting. What was your reaction to the Plymouth Rock?
It was small,
It was small.
and it kind of smelled fruity there.
Yeah.
It smelled fruity. I did like that. I liked the rock.
Yes. What do you think about the 1950s reconstruction of the Mayflower?
Ah, that was cool. I like to think about where they were on the Mayflower and they put the salt on the meats.
They did?
Yeah, they put salt on the meats and they have refrigerators.
So interesting.
And so it wouldn't go bad. I don't know if it works, but it worked.
Oh, that's how they
Past
make
tense.
salami.
Ew. I've never had salami actually.